Hey guys, it's Amber and I'm getting ready to work on day 4. So it's going to be a pretty simple layout. I have a lot of really busy pages coming up, so I'm fine with that. It's going to be a shortened layout on the back of day 3 here. So it's not quite a full 11-inch wide, it's like 10. And what I had a doctor appointment that day. Which eventually led to a CAT scan like 4 days later. And it was also a work day. I worked late shift, so like not anything exciting was going on. So I just took a photo of the outside of the doctor's office because it was like in a hospital, because it just kind of showed the suite. It was like decorated for Christmas. Kind of just, you know, it's kind of hard to take a good photo of yourself at the doctor's office often where it like looks good. So this is what I'm starting with. Holes are going to be on this side. What I would like to do is the wreath kind of inspired me. I was thinking about pulling out this wreath stamp. And I want to print, or I did print. I printed on some vellum here. I want to try embossing this in gold on vellum, and we're going to see how it works. Printed this in a 2.5-inch circle. Here. So I think I have plenty of room here. And what I want to do is I'm going to fussy cut around the wreath, but on this part over here, I'm going to like cut to a certain point and then let this part be flat. And then I'm going to fold that part of the vellum behind the photo. Hopefully that makes sense. That way, basically, it's like a little flip open. There's nothing like necessarily to see behind it except the photo, but like it's really large. I didn't want to just like necessarily stick to the photo. And then somewhere over here, I'm going to figure out a way to put my number. And then that's just like my drilling. So I pretty much just need to emboss this and then cut it out and attach it. So I took an 8.5 by 11 piece of vellum. I cut it digitally in half, and I put 2 of these on here, but I want to try to do the one on the right first. If it works out, then that will leave me room to create a flap. If I have to do the one on the left, I'm not quite sure I'm going to have any room to flip anything, so it's kind of pointless, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with the one on the right. I've got some tools to help me make it hopefully work out really well. I have my stamping platform, anti-static tool bag. Got my Versamark ink. I'm going to go with the Ranger Superfine Gold. I took a look at my samples that I have created, so don't be afraid to make samples for your embossing as well. So this is the Gold Superfine and then the Princess Gold, and they're really, really similar, but looking at this, the detail was definitely a little bit better, so I'm hoping that that will come across because it's a pretty detailed stamp. So that is my plan. I also recently got one of these stamp pusher thingies from Picket Fence Studios on scrapbook.com. If I can find it, I'll link it. There's several types, but I'm telling you what, it really does make it easier to push down evenly on your stamp. I used it once already when I was doing my Christmas cards, and I stamp on the envelope over and over. And then I've got my heat tool. So wish me luck. Let's hope this comes out well. If not, I did save my file because I actually printed this the night before that I'm working on this. I did save the file, so if I need to, I can redo it and center it differently. So let's get started. Okay guys, so the first thing that I did was rub the anti-static bag all over the part where I needed this to be. Hopefully you kind of saw that there. I know it's kind of flying by. Next thing, I grabbed the stamp and positioned it in place here. This is my Tim Holtz stamper. It's very similar to a Misty. So just got that in place, and then I spun it so that the vellum could go off the side. Picked it up and then started using my embossing ink. So I was just kind of looking at it really close to see how well it looked like it was inked. And there you can see I'm using that pressing tool. It's really helpful. You can do it a lot faster. You're not pushing so hard. It doesn't hurt your fingers. And the beauty of this tool is that you can stamp this multiple times in the same place. So I could see that there was a few spots that weren't quite getting as much coverage as I would prefer. So just kind of wanted to give you a little, visual of what that looked like. So the next thing I did is I had a piece of copy paper that I folded in half just to pre-create that crease. I'm pouring my embossing powder over that and then dumping it onto this piece of paper. I don't have a snappy tray or anything like Allie has. So I dumped the excess embossing powder onto this piece of paper, and then since it's pre-folded, it's a lot easier to get it back into that little jar very quickly. So I'm just getting the heat tool. With vellum, you want to make sure it's really, really hot in advance, and you also want to kind of heat from above and behind. It did help with preventing too much warping. It definitely still did a little bit. Unfortunately it's vellum, so it's hard to avoid, but I'm really happy with how it came out, especially on the first run. So here I'm just showing you a little bit of a close-up. Everything came out pretty smooth except the top left corner still looked a little bumpy. I'm not sure why, but I tried heating it a few times and that's just how it looked. So there I'm just showing you how I cut it out. I didn't try to go too fine. I just kind of did rounded edges. And then I left that little flap there. And I'm just kind of eyeing that up and folding it. It actually worked out pretty well. And just using my thumbnail there to crease it. So actually really happy with how that came out. And then next step is going to be just seeing how it looks. I think it looks really cute. I did consider doing like green, but I thought gold would be kind of something different. Playing with some chipboard numbers there. I have a gold set that's from like 2016 or 2017. It's really old. And then that 4 that's red and white is a Felicity Jane number. So I'm going to ultimately decide to go with that one. I didn't really have a ton of other options, and that one worked well and stayed kind of still within the wreath frame. And then I decided to pull out these little drops that I have from Pink Fresh and see what they would look like if I did like these little crystals all around the wreath, and I'm really happy that I decided to go with those. And so I'm just putting those in place. I'm going to give them time to glue and be glued and dried, and I'll show you a live look in a second. Okay guys, I am all finished. I wanted to show you what it looked like. I got it mounted to the back of the other photo. The only thing I was a little disappointed in is that it got mounted a little higher than I wanted. I think I wanted it down just a little bit more, just kind of for balance. Excuse me. I ended up adding these little, they're called clear drops. This is the Emerald City color from Pink Fresh Studio. I started with glossy accents, but I was having trouble controlling how much was coming out. So I switched to Gina K Connect Glue. This goes on white and dries clear, but it had a little bit of a finer point. I was also considering, I have a mono glue that I don't really use very often, but I have a liquid glue here, and that has 2 different tips, like a really wide tip, kind of like a glue stick, and then that finer tip. But I didn't think that that would work very well for my needs. So this does lift, not necessarily, important that it does. It's a little bit warped, I think, from the embossing, so I've been trying to leave it flat as much as possible. I did put, I had like a piece of paper over it, and then I was laying some heavy items on it to keep it pretty flat. But now that it's in the album, I think that that will help a little bit as well, because there's definitely going to have some dimension on here, but hopefully I don't have any issues with that in the album. I like that it's on the outside. But anyway, I just wanted to show you, it's nice and simple, but some days work days are like that, and it is a story that I needed to tell, especially because I will have a continuing story for day 8. So just wanted to say thanks so much for watching, and I will see you soon for day 5. Day 5 is going to be an Advent calendar page. I'm excited to work on that. Bye for now.